Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are here for another edition of Shill and Chill with our special guest, Wyatt Holiday. We are going to be talking all about his projects here today, but this is our chill show, so it's time for a nice afternoon delight here. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to chill, and let's get into it. All right, now that we are all sufficiently in the island mood.
Yeah, dude, I want to be on that beach now.
I always joke that I'm allowed to do island stuff because I do live on an island. It's just not that kind of island. It's Long Island, but we're not exactly tropical. But we do have nice beaches. I will say that. Some of them I wouldn't go to. Like, unless you're okay with
I live in
possibly
Texas, so our beach is the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, well, some of those are really nice beaches. Like I've been looking
if
into
a
that.
hurricane hasn't stirred up the mud,
Right. Yeah, well, it's funny because my wife and I keep thinking about like where are we going to retire to, and of course we live in New York, so the natural answer, of course, is Florida. But that because that's kind of just like required when you live in New York. But we've been looking at Texas. I've been thinking about it because there's it's good for her pension. It's good for no income tax. So we're thinking about we're weighing our options. We're planning ahead.
I like it. So I still may retire to Florida, but
You just from one part of the Gulf to the other, right?
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we are here. It's definitely warm in my basement today, so if you see me sweating, that's why. I mean, on this beach that I'm on,
Yes.
this lovely beach here that wasn't a dollar store backdrop.
You need to put like a dab of sunscreen like above your nose or something.
Yeah, right. I thought about wearing sunglasses, but I was like, you know what? With the hat and the headphones and the sunglasses, it'd be too much.
It always makes me think of Napoleon in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, and I figure, you know what? Like I feel like Peter Samedi has the lockdown on the sunglasses on stream, so like I'll let him have that. So anyway, we're just real quick. Anybody who's new to the channel, I'm Jam Creates. This is my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. You know how that all goes. Links are down below for everything we're going to talk about today, down in the description. So you can always hit that stuff and check it out. Don't forget to check out Indie Comics Underground. That's my website dedicated to indie and crowdfunded comics. All kinds of cool content there all the time. I update as much as possible on that site. And we are joined by, of course, as always, RC Gates down below. RC, say hello or say aloha.
Aloha.
And of course, we're joined by our special guest today, Wyatt. Wyatt, hello. How are you doing today?
Good. Aloha, mi amigos. Going great, man.
Wow, you mixed Hawaiian and Spanish.
I did.
So anyway, we are here today to talk about your new project, Heroine Adventure Magazine. But before we get into the specifics on that real quick, why don't you let anybody who doesn't know a little bit about, I mean, you've had a number of projects now. So why don't you let everybody know a little bit about your background and who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I've been around doing this for about 2 years now. My first campaign was summer a couple of years ago. This is my 5th campaign actually, so I've done 2 campaigns with the character Ardana. That was my first campaign. It's a sword and sorcery kind of fantasy, Conan the Barbarian type style of story. Since it was my first campaign, by the time I did my second, people were asking me, "Hey, you had a first book?" Yeah. So So we redid we re-released the first campaign as the Ardana Legendary Edition. Did quite well. And I've also worked on Rocket Gal and the Mole Men of Mars with artist Peter Gilmore. Then Eternal Armor, the giant robot mega battle book. So so yeah, this is number 5 now. So
Right. So now we are talking about Heroine Adventure Magazine. So this is a little something a little bit different than your other campaigns. So what is the difference between this and the comic campaigns that you've done before?
Yeah, the other 4 are of course comic books, but this I'm gonna take it back a little bit. We are doing a a true throwback to the classic pulp magazines of late 19th century to I guess 50s. The Shadow, Doc Savage, those types of characters. It's the genre that comic books actually evolved from. So you've got stuff that looks like this. It's very much a prose story because we're talking a time period before paperback books even existed. So you're looking at, by the time, they printed them in this almost magazine format, you would call it. But, back in the day, like the mid 1800s, hardback books were the way you got a book. So, a lot of families, they might only have 1 or 2. So you better like that copy of Great Expectations because you're going to read it a bunch of times. So, around the mid 1800s, around 1860, a dime novel. That's
Uh-oh. You're breaking up a little bit.
So, yeah, internet, of course, I'm sure. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So yeah, dime novels evolved into pulp magazines, which evolved into comic books. So I'm doing a nice throwback to, your classic heroes like Doc Savage, the Shadow, Operator Number 5, the Avenger, all those guys. So
this
been a
is,
fan, long time.
I was just going to say,
yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, that's a it's a very specific thing to pull from in history. So I'm assuming you were a fan of that.
Yeah, I was about 15 and I was in my LCS and they had a small rack. I guess it would be like what you'd call an end cap now. It had a few magazines on there, Shadow, Doc Savage. I was familiar with the Shadow from the Alec Baldwin movie. It was around that time. But there was a Doc Savage cover that was just super cool, and I was like, I'm gonna check this out. And yeah, man, I fell in love. I've been collecting ever since then. This poor beat up copy of the Shadow. This is November 1938.
Wow.
So this is probably my least valuable one. So it's the one I take out to throw around. I've already knocked a few corners. And pieces off of it. Just about every time I take it out, it's really brittle.
Yeah.
So I keep them, I keep them put up and in good shape. One thing I did find funny today in this is, have you ever heard of using Listerine in your hair? Well,
oh God, no.
So this ad claims Listerine cures dandruff. So trust the science.
What's funny is that kind of like anything like that, any kind of throwback, anything like, I love the ads. I always love the ads, like in that kind of stuff, because they're always incredible.
Yeah, we're gonna do some retro style ads to put in there to make it just for amusement, for my amusement mostly. But I think people get a kick out of it.
Yeah, it's just fun. Like it's such a different style of advertising. Everything is much more like it's way less subtle. It's much more in your face about like this, you should buy this, which I honestly appreciate. Like, just don't even try to, don't
Yeah,
try to be slick with it. Just tell me what you're trying to sell me something. Just tell me why I should buy it. Like, it's interesting. Like, I always watch. There's a channel. It's an oddball cable channel. I don't know who has it and who doesn't, but it's called Buzzer, and they show all old game shows. And when they show like
Oh wow.
when they show like the old black and white ones, they'll leave in any of the live ads that they did, because back then like everything was live. So they used to do they used to do the ads literally like in the same studio sometimes, and they would just have someone walk out on the stage and do an ad, like, and they have those, they leave those in so you can still see those, which is, I love it. I absolutely love watching those.
Yeah, I've seen those on like What's My Line and some of those classic shows. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Whose line is it anyway? Not whose line is it anyway. What's my line? Yeah, what's my line? To tell the truth. Like a lot of that stuff. Beat the clock. Like a lot of the real old black and white ones, they'll leave those ads in, which is so much fun to see. Like I was the funniest thing I'll never forget. They used to show all the time. They had ads for Dream Whip, which was essentially like a Cool Whip type thing, but it came in a box. So I guess you had to like mix it yourself. And they used to show all these ads for it all the time. And the whole thing about it was it wouldn't like, supposedly it wouldn't like fizzle. You know how like whipped cream will like just, settle after a while and kind of ooze out everywhere. Supposedly this doesn't do that. And we were my wife and I went to a supermarket, and the place was closing. So like they had like, clearance stuff and half the aisles are empty and all this kind of stuff. And I literally saw a box of Dream Whip on the shelf. And I was like, oh my God, this still exists.
Did you get it just to test it?
I didn't. I should have, but I didn't.
You're like, I'm going to prove them wrong. Or prove them right. Who knows?
The best part was, though, these are ads from like the 1940s or whatever the heck they were from. And it almost made me buy this product in like 2018 or whatever year it was we were in that supermarket. So all those years later, the ads almost worked. So anyway, why don't I'm going to share the campaign here so we can take a look at some of it. One of the cool things about those old pulp magazines is that the art in it is actually really fantastic. Like it's real, it's detailed, it's high quality. It's like that old, I don't know how to put it. It's that old style of like craftsman. Like everybody who did that artwork, they were like a real craftsman about their work, and they really like paid attention to make each illustration worthy of being there, even though it was like a 10-cent, pulp book. It was just one of those things where you could just see like the illustrations and of course they had a style with the character design. Like for example, right here, just looking at her, like that's clear, like a classic character design for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to be as authentic as we could with it, man. From the character design to the cover to the interior artwork, the story itself, of course. So yeah, we're doing the best I can to emulate, other than the fact that it won't be on cheap pulpwood paper, we're going to do a little better quality than that. But otherwise, I'm doing a true throwback to the old days, man.
I love this cover. Like here's the standard cover. It looks all nice and clean. And then you've got this one, which is the vintage cover, and it just looks beat up and like crinkled and everything. I just love that. Like I just think that looks great.
The beat up cover is actually what I usually call it. That's not the official name, but it's got the fade and the cracks and the scuffs, and it's just part of the design. I'm not really gonna skateboard on your cover before I see it, but I really like it too. I didn't want to do entirely different cover art as a variant cover because I love the cover so much. So I thought this would be a cool and unique idea for a variant. So.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense with what you're doing.
Mhm.
Like that's the thing. Like it fits into the motif of everything that you're already doing. Like
Yeah, it looks about like my shadow issue over here.
honestly, what's funny is it actually reminds me. I have somewhere in my collection. I have an issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where the cover. It was just one of the issues. It's just a floppy, but they made the cover look like it was beat to hell. And it like the corner, like they make it look like the corners ripped off and you can see the page underneath. There's a coffee ring on it. Like they like just made it look like it was just beat to shit. And like I love that cover though. I just think it's the coolest idea. Like when you could do something like that, I just think it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
And then, so who did the cover? Who did the art?
The cover is by Joaquin Zapata. He's the same artist on Eternal Armor.
Okay.
This style is actually we've been friends a long time, but more this style is what I'm used to. And then one day I asked him, when I was working on Eternal Armor, I just asked him, "Hey man, can you draw a manga type style?" And he showed me some stuff, and I was like, "Well, I guess you're gonna be the artist on Eternal Armor." So so I guess you can do that. So yeah.
That's so funny. Now, why don't we get into a little bit like what is the story here?
Oh wow. Could we play the trailer?
Yeah, we could do that. I
That
gotta,
will actually help kick things off.
let me let me stop sharing for a minute and then reshare it with the audio.
With the audio. Yeah.
You know what? I've had so many issues with sharing. Oh, damn it. I did it again.
You'd think that at this point, StreamYards would have like a little toggle switch, or they'd just be like, "Put on audio."
Right.
Yeah, that should be the default. Like, in my opinion, at least. Because I do the same thing, man, and I've only ran about 5 streams on my channel, and like I'm ever going to remember that. So,
well, it's funny because I've had issues with one of our other shows that we do. We do a show called The Best Ever every Tuesday at 7, and we pick like different topics and we talk about. And usually the topic is something like we did a whole show about Ninja Turtles. We did whole shows about like 80s cartoons. We did a whole show about like the Disney Afternoon was our last one, and a lot of times I'll share just like the intros to like TV shows and stuff like that without the sound. Because obviously if you share the sound, it's definitely going to flag the stream. But even without doing the sound, we had a stream get taken down because I was showing the trailer to Rocky IV once without any audio, and it pulled the stream down. I had to like stop it and get the stream restarted just for the video. So it was really odd. So you never know what they're going to pull sometimes.
Yeah, I played a clip of the Shockmaster from WWE not too long ago, and they didn't really flag me, but that video is banned in 7 countries, and so because of the Shockmaster, and I was like, well,
that's so funny.
I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to do anything. So not monetized anyway. So haha.
Yeah, well, yeah, me neither. So I'm not really too worried about that. I wish they told you though what countries the videos were banned in, because then I would totally advertise all my streams as like the stream that's too hot for Kuala Lumpur or whatever like whatever country.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I would love to do that. All right, so let's play the trailer here.
Ava Atlas, born with enhanced bone and muscle density, has trained her entire life to protect the world as a veritable pulp superwoman. A sinister mastermind, shrouded in myth, rises from the shadows, along with his faceless fanatics, to threaten everything she holds dear. Aided by an occult investigator who defeated the villain once before, using a mysterious pocket watch powered by blood. Ava must uncover dark designs before a clawed hand grips the globe. In the world's first ever Pulp Heroines Magazine.
Short and sweet, but that's enough to give the basic idea of what's going on here. As far as our story, Ava Atlas, she's our protagonist. Her parents were chemical biologists. They were actually in Germany. Her father's German, her mother's Italian. And they worked together, and that's how they met originally. And they were studying ways to help the human body heal faster, recover from various injuries, maybe slow the aging process a little. Excuse me. And of course, because of the time period, because we're talking mid 1930s, people were trying to muscle in on their work, trying to steal their research, things like that. And then when President von Hindenburg in Germany died, they decided that was probably a good time to start planning to get out of there. So they came to the United States. And as a result of their research, it'll be explained in the book, but Ava was born with increased bone and muscle density. So she's stronger, faster, things like that, more durable than a normal person. Not to like a superhero level like we know.
Right.
Like modern Superman, but more like Lou Ferrigno, Incredible Hulk show.
Okay.
Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. She can pull some doors off the hinges, maybe pick up the back of a car, but she's not going to be throwing airplanes or anything like that. It's more grounded in the time period of the abilities that other characters of the time period would have had.
Right.
So it's still balanced with that, you might say. So and she's trained her entire life to help protect the world from various wacky criminal masterminds and strange villains that are going to show up throughout all the adventures. The first, of course, is in this story is our villain is the guy with the golden arm. Yeah, this guy here you saw in the trailer, the Sleeping Dragon. He's a sinister mastermind. He's slightly you could say he's slightly Fu Manchu inspired, that type of worldwide criminal mastermind.
Right.
He's got the golden arm there, and that is actually it's actually the sleeve from an ancient hero's magical armor. All he has of it is the sleeve though, and that's all he's been able to find so far. And he's been able to use the magic of that to kind of twist it to empower his own sorcery. So he's also a sorcerer at the same time. And as our story begins, he's actually going to be in prison. That image above, the black and white one, was of him in a cell. And that's actually chapter 1. That's in chapter 1. And they have these symbols and candles and all this around his cell because that's what prevents him from using his magic, and that's the only way that they can contain him. So it's like kind of like lifts in a way. And that's where our story will be starting. Chapter 1 will be his prison escape, you might say. Yeah, he's our villain. He is aided, of course, by his daughter, which is the character that was underneath his image there. That's Mei Shun. She's his daughter, and she pretty much trains to do all the things he's able to do. She learns his ways. She studies the same dark sorcery, which is very much based on the same sorcery you see like in Hong Kong fantasy movies. I'm a big fan of that. I mean, when I get into something, it gets kind of crazy, and I stay into that. I stay into that thing for a while. I was into Hong Kong action flicks, and especially the fantasy variety. And So then I decided I'd study the I Ching and like how the hexagram magic was supposed to work and all that stuff. So all that's like exactly based on that. The way their sorcery will work. It's
So there's
it's
it's I would say like almost for anybody who doesn't know what that is, almost a little Big Trouble in Little China.
yes, yes. If you've ever seen Big Trouble in that kind of very much that kind of sorcery, yeah. Um, so and then of course she has the ability. You know, the plan is for her to be able to take his actions. Either once he's gone or if he's indisposed for a while, like being in prison. And so, and they run this worldwide group of faceless fanatics that are called the Unseen Guard. And they don't even know who each other are. They come from everywhere in the world. It could be your neighbor, could be your local senator. And they are all, you know, they're promised various things by the sleeping dragon, and he has their loyalty.
So are there basically, for lack of a better term, are there also just a bunch of like any good super, you know, mastermind villain? Does he have a bunch of just no name flunkies who the hero can beat up?
Oh yeah, that's these guys. So, I mean, they're, you know, they're no name to everyone else.
Okay.
Like I say, they're the guys. They're the guys on the cover with the hand on the shoulder.
Yeah, these guys here.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah. So
You
yeah,
gotta
that's
any good
Guard.
any good villain has to have cannon fodder, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You gotta have your goons, right?
Exactly.
A villainous mastermind with no goons, man. That's just that'll hurt your cred. So this guy here is Inspector Sin, and the way he plays in is he was actually, if he had had his own stories in magazines, he would have been like a supernatural or paranormal investigator type character.
Okay.
Because that sort of stuff does also exist in this world. Because I've already mentioned the magic and the dark sorcery as well. He encountered the sleeping dragon some years ago, and that is why the sleeping dragon is in prison when we begin. Inspector Sin, that would have been his last adventure before he retired. He's getting up there in age a little bit. But one interesting thing about him is that he has this pocket watch that he obtained on his adventures. He's holding it in his hand there, but there is a larger image of it in the image right below this one, which is on this. Yeah, and that's what it looks like. And what you have to do is the user pierces their thumb or finger or whatever and drips the blood into the mouth, because this is actually a Chinese demon, this face here.
Okay.
And by doing that, that's the only way to get the watch to open. And it'll stay open for a minute, but while it is open, it'll show the user an event that happened a long time ago in the past, or something that's going to happen in the future, or something happening far away right now. And like I say, it stays open for a minute and then it closes. And of course, it does take a toll on the user. So you can't just whip it out every 5 minutes and be like, give me the horse race. So
Can you tell it what to show you, or does it choose what it shows you?
you can tell it. It's
Okay.
whether you want to see present, far away, past, or future. Yeah, you do have the choice. Yeah. And this actually right here, this cover is an additional book that all backers get. It comes with every perk. And it's going to be a 32-page novella that tells the origins of, it's the story of how he originally watched. And the second
Right, so
Hand of Shadows. And so it takes place before the magazine story, but you can either read it before or after. It doesn't matter.
Right. Right. It's just extra story, extra bang for your buck.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like you've really like taken the time to really develop like the world and the characters
Yeah.
and whatnot to really get this thing together to have like possibly even have multiple stories in this world.
Hmm. Yeah. I've been working on it probably, I don't know, about 12 years.
Oh wow.
As far as developing everything. And I never really knew how I really wanted to go about publishing it, or even getting it out there. But I knew that it would work like this as opposed to, standard comics.
Right.
Like this is, doing it like this is the way I wanted to do it. So yeah, it's been about 12 years. I first started developing the characters in the world, and it's not been a straight 12 years, but I'd go back to it and work on some more things. Yeah, there are a lot of characters for this. We'll call it a universe, that just have not been seen yet, and if all goes well, will definitely be seen later. So yeah, there's a lot to this. A lot of
So
cool stuff, man.
so let me ask just on a broader scale. Obviously you've done multiple comic book campaigns before, and now this is something a little bit different. So were obviously any campaign, there's always nerves about launching any campaign, but were the nerves a little bit at a different level for this because you're doing something different?
To be honest, man, because I didn't know what to expect, to tell you the truth. I was like, well, I don't know how this will be received. Will people be into it, or will they just, will they say, that's not a comic, I'm not interested, or what? But when I first started putting it out there, it got some buzz. People were pretty excited about it. And then, you know, it was one of those things though that I was gonna do it whether I got 5 backers or 500, because I had to, man. Like,
Uh,
you know, I was going to do it regardless. And then but yeah, the nerves were kind of high because I had no idea what to expect. No idea at all, man. I was like, well, I don't know, but here we go. So,
it's good. I mean, I've seen just more specifically, like within Comicsgate, there's been a couple people who've dipped their toes into, prose fiction,
mhm,
and some obviously more successful than others. Stuff like Sunsworn was very successful,
yeah,
from Red Gaze and stuff like. So there's definitely an audience out there who is open to, expanding at least a little bit beyond just comic books.
right. And I read everything, I love classic literature up to comics to, I mean, I read a lot of everything. So, sci-fi, fantasy novels, things like that. I'm a big Robert E. Howard fan.
Okay.
Um, no surprise there, I'm sure. I did get to go to the Robert E. Howard Museum last month. That was that was the main point of my vacation. It was a lot of fun, really cool. The stuff we're looking at here is what comes. This was just to show everybody a larger, image of what comes in our big perk. It's
Right.
what I call the pulp adventure trove, because why not call it that? Um, and it's with it, you get the collector's case that was seen above.
Yeah, I'll go back
If
up.
you've
Yeah.
ever backed any of Mark Polton's projects, it's very much the case that it's got the magnetic closure. It's hard. It's a nice, stiff, rigid box. It's for real. We're gonna have the double-sided cover insert, so you can either have the clean one or the beat up side,
Okay.
and then everything will be inside here. You'll get cover A and cover B. You'll get the adventure guide, which is there was a larger image. No need to scroll back up there, but that's a guide that's going to have the character design, sketches, probably some of my artwork, because even though I'm not a great artist, I do design all the characters myself. I then give that to a good artist and say, here, make this look cool. um, but but I do the designs myself. And it'll probably have some of my crappy art in it, and then it will also, and then it will also have every piece of artwork that's actually in the magazine will be republished in there. So if you want to be able to just break that out without having to get all your stuff out, it's a nice, handy little guide to have. The Inspector Sin novella, of course, that comes with every perk, so that's here. We're going to have a double-sided bookmark. It's going to be the logo on one side. There will be artwork on the other. Haven't released artwork yet. Artwork's not finished for it yet, so hopefully the bookmark's not the make or break for you.
That'd be really weird if it was.
Yeah, I know. Like, man, no, I'm not going to back it now because I hadn't seen the bookmark yet. But so that was kind of low on my priority list, was the bookmark artwork. But it's gonna be cool. It'll be cool. Trust me. And then right there, that's what I call the Adventure Society membership card. It's kind of a throwback. I'm a big fan of the original Captain Marvel, Shazam. You know, Billy Batson. Especially the Golden Age stuff. And there used to be, like, you could get the Captain Marvel Club membership card that basically says, you know, I agree to help Captain Marvel smash evil and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like that. There's a place for you to sign your name on this membership card, and on the back will be a secret code that you can use to decipher coded messages that are going to be in the magazine and future magazines and whatnot. I may even put out some tweets in the coded messages.
That's a great idea.
To send people to do some cool things.
It's not going to tell me to drink Ovaltine, is it?
No. Or put Listerine in your hair. Yeah, drink more Ovaltine. Yeah.
You know what? I'm thinking about that whole Listerine thing. And nowadays, the way things go, and there's all these trends that go through online, like all these different challenges, and you could probably turn that into an online trend of people just, I'm doing the Listerine hair challenge, and they just dump a bottle of Listerine on their heads.
I was thinking
well,
about
Jam, you have the following on TikTok, so you could be the one to start that.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I was thinking about taking a photo of that advertisement and putting it on Twitter here in a little bit. That's pretty funny, man. I noticed it this morning. I was like, what the hell? Listerine cures dandruff, huh? In your hair. So
I mean, it might. I don't know. I'm not going to argue with them because I've never tried, but
I bet it burns.
I bet it does. It cures dandruff. It also removes all your hair too. Yeah.
Also removes your corneas and your eyebrows. So yeah, but it's funny. You know, it's like the old smoking cigarettes make you healthy kind of
exactly.
Like
exactly. I have a doctor I go to. He actually in his office.
Mm-hmm.
His office it's the weirdest thing because you go to a doctor, this is the last thing you expect to see, but if you go into his office, the entire thing, like the walls are just covered with cigarette boxes and cigarette ads. Like he's got all these like really like old like vintage cigarette ads all over the walls of his office. It's really funny to see because there's literally ads that are like, doctors recommend smoking whatever, you know, like whatever cigarette it is. It's the most hysterical thing. Like they like literally like more pregnant women smoke whatever than, you know, it's like what?
So I guess he just likes the old ads and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
A fan of right.
Yeah,
cool.
no, he thinks it's funny, but it's really odd when you walk into a doctor's office and you see all these cigarette ads.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that. I like that. The idea of like the membership card, like that's such an old school type of thing where they used to do that kind of stuff all the time. Or be like, you know, join the whatever society, and you know,
like man, yeah, I thought it'd be cool. Yeah, I thought it'd be a cool addition. You know, I would think it was cool if if I were buying it. So I try to, I try to hit those marks.
Well, I think it just fits. It fits the spirit of the project, you know. It fits right in there with the idea, you know, that because that's the kind of thing that would be in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like if you were a kid buying these for 10 cents in the 1930s or 40s, that would be the kind of thing that would be there. Yeah.
And it would probably, the funny thing is, obviously then it would be printed somewhere in the magazine. You'd have to literally cut it out to keep it if you wanted to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily I'm not going to do you that way. We
So then
do have
also,
the ability to
yeah,
not do
exactly.
that.
We have the ability to do that.
Uh,
And then down here you've got prints.
yeah, just it's going to be the character art prints of the four major characters there. So those will be cool. And then we have a 5-card trading card set. Those 4 are by Shelby Robertson, and they are off the hook. They're awesome.
Yeah, those are really nice.
And so you get those 4, and then a secret mystery card is the 5th card. So it is a set of 5. And then over there, you don't get the typewriter, but for my birthday last month, someone got me a legit straight up vintage 1940 Underwood. Perfect working condition, everything, even the shift lock works. Has a
Wow.
brand new ribbon. So what I'm going to do is you will also get a TypeScript page. It's transcribed from the actual story in the magazine. Every page is unique and original. So there's only one page 1, only one page 2, 3, and so on. And then I will sign that, and that will come with everything else in the collector's case. So
Free Range Human said, "Well, dang it, I only came for the typewriter. This is an atrocity."
maybe I get you a little mini typewriter.
Could you imagine the shipping on typewriters?
Man, especially if you got to ship it to Australia.
Oh my god. It's funny though, if it did come with the typewriter, I bet I could easily convince my wife would back the book. Like it would be, it's funny because she's actually been looking for, it doesn't even have, she doesn't even need one that's working. She just wants like an old vintage typewriter to put in her library.
Yeah.
She works in a high school. She's a high school librarian, so she just wants one just to display in there. So we're always keeping an eye out for even broken ones.
Yeah, that's primarily what I was gonna do with mine, was have it out to display and look nice, because it came with the original case and everything. It's nice.
That's cool.
But then, considering everything on it worked, and I had what better campaign to do something like that than this campaign?
Right.
So
now you're gonna literally sit there and type a page for everyone who backs the
if you back this perk, yeah,
that perk, everyone's gonna get an original typed out page.
Correct.
So
yeah,
I hope
on a 1940 Underwood.
I hope your fingers are ready.
We're gonna see, man. It's proving to be a rather popular perk. So I'm probably gonna get a workout. Better start working the stress ball or the little
the
little hand gripper things. Yeah, get in shape.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Free Range Humans in Sweden. Yeah. He said, "I'll get you a voucher for a Happy Meal if you send me the typewriter." Fair trade, not covering shipping to Sweden though, but enjoy the meal and the toy for a toy exchange. I don't think that's gonna happen there.
No, that'd be expensive. Yeah, that'd be. You pay $100, costs like $1,500 to ship.
Right.
So,
and I also don't think the typewriter would fit in a Gemini mailer. So
no, that takes some work.
You need to make a box out of Gemini mailers to get that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to ship everything in the typewriter. Just use the typewriter as your box.
You sell the typewriter as a do-it-yourself kit. You just send them the typewriter. Be like, okay, write your own story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, man, once the manuscript is entirely put together, what I'll do is I'll start with page one of it and reproduce it on the typewriter there. Uh, you know, and like I said, they'll all be unique. So there's page one, two, exactly as if you had the stack of all of them sending off to the publisher back in the old days. So yeah, they're all unique. So very cool. I thought it was I thought it was a unique thing to be able to do.
It is. It's definitely, and it fits. It's a unique thing that other campaigns won't have, and it also fits right in with what you're doing, with the spirit of the project.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And that was another thing I was going for with this project, from the membership card to the beat up cover to the TypeScript page. Because I did buy a couple of replica TypeScripts at the Robert E. Howard Museum when I was there. And after seeing those and then getting the typewriter and then doing this campaign, I was like, well, I know what I'm gonna do. So I was inspired.
So now this is going to be it's 120 something pages, right?
128, yeah.
128 pages, yeah. So it's not a little book.
Should be about around 30,000 to 35,000 words.
So that's again, that bookmark. It's going to be very important.
Yeah. You might not have needed the bookmark on my 24-page comic, but you got it anyway. But you might need it on this.
I always think it's funny. Like, a lot of the comic campaigns come with bookmarks, and I'm like, I sit down and read them in one shot. Like, I don't like. Like, I just sit down and I read them cover to cover in one sitting. I don't need a bookmark, really.
Yeah, right. I mean, I could get it if like the first the first book Mandy did, the first Wart the Wizard Mandy did, that thing's like 90 something pages. So I could kind of get it there, but
sure.
But my first campaign, once again, it was the first campaign and I wasn't going to go too crazy. So I just put out an issue 0, it was maybe 24 pages, I think, but I got a bookmark anyway.
Well, it's fun. I mean, like, the bookmark has kind of become kind of a standard thing that a lot of people do. It's just one of those things. Like, bookmarks, a lot of people do trading cards. Like, there's kind of those standard extras that people seem to do.
Yeah. I mean, I like a good bookmark, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then, my bookmark, it was really high quality. And so I'm going around, check out this bookmark. And like, it was the greatest thing on the campaign. And so, because it was really nice. I was really happy with it. So, and it was my first campaign. So, kind of about like the first foil card that I ever made. You can't really tell that well on the camera, but this came with the Ardonna Legendary Edition campaign, were these cards. But yeah, man, the where you're at, the foil card turned out really nice. So all the gold stuff on it is foil.
That's cool.
So,
awesome.
Yeah, when I did the first one of those, I was pretty proud of that too. So I went around showing that to everybody. Look at this. So,
yeah, well, listen, and I feel like, that's part of the deal. Like, when you're like, one part of it is you're showing people stuff to try and sell people on stuff. Obviously, you want them to back your project, but then also, I feel like you are, when you're doing your thing, like, if you're not excited about it, no one else is going to be excited about it.
Right. You could just be like, man, it's a foil card.
Right.
You get this crap too. Right? But no, those are stretch goal items, so that was pretty cool. The foil card was actually on this campaign if people who signed up for the mailing list. So that was a really cool thing for those guys. So
and then you've got on this campaign for Heroine Adventure, you've got the 5 cards, but only the 4 have had the art revealed so far.
Yeah, because the mystery card is just one that I don't want to reveal yet.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be very cool. So, and then
So,
everyone who signed up for the mailing list, they get an exclusive card that I haven't shown yet either, but that'll be for the mailing list backers. So
free free range human says, "Here, I found 100 bottle caps in a dumpster, so you get one for free. I guess excitement does definitely matter." Yeah, it does. I feel like if someone's excited about their own project, it makes everybody else more excited for it too. It's that age old thing of when people are like, "Hey, I did a thing," and then they put like when they do that
yeah.
tweet that I did a thing tweet, like.
Mm.
Yeah, I do things all the time. I don't like it, you have to make it exciting.
Right. Yeah. If you don't seem excited about it, it's pretty hard to. When I first started streaming, I was kind of like a robot, so it was hard. It was like hard to be seem too excited about anything, even though I was. You're too worried about not screwing up or saying something stupid. So now I just say things. Now I just say stupid things anyway. And so, but yeah, 100 bottle caps in the dumpster. Guess what, boys? Stretch goals are back in business. I mean, you can't. You can't. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that's just part of it. You got to be excited about what you're doing. That's
Mhm.
always been a key. I mean, when you see other campaigns, listen, some of the most successful campaigns, I don't see. Somebody said this the other day, and I don't remember where I saw it or heard it, but it really made a lot of sense. They were talking about different campaigns and stuff like that, and one of the things they said was, Ethan, like Cyberfrog's biggest fan is Ethan. And it makes a
Mhm.
lot of and it's true, and it makes a lot of sense. Like he does seem like Cyberfrog's biggest fan, and he's the one making it. So that's how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I
Uh-oh.
feel like I'm the biggest fan of my stuff as well. So
Right.
that's good to have.
Yeah, well that's really how it should be. RC, I see Free Range Human had a little something to say to you.
Yes, I guess some people have a resting bitch face. I guess I have a resting smirk face.
Like like a slightly more friendly Adam Baldwin, the Firefly Baldwin, not Alec.
I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah, he was on Chuck. Also, he played Casey on Chuck. I will refer to Chuck anytime I get the opportunity to, because I love that show.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But did you watch it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Show
I
was
love
great.
that show. I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time because it just had everything in it.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
but so now, like, as far
Hot
as
chicks. Yeah, man.
it had everything, it had action, adventure, comedy,
Yeah.
just everything in that show. Oh, he wrote he's currently watching
Yeah.
Chuck on season 2. Oh yeah, it's a great show. I have the box set right behind me, actually, on the shelf down here. I've watched through that entire show, like all the seasons, at least 3 times at this point. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
That's pretty much me with Babylon 5. So.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah, that's
I watched
probably
Babylon
my
5 back
favorite.
in the day. I watched that back in the day, and I remember when it came out, there was the big argument about like Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine, and there was that whole like, well, one ripped off the other, and blah 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 blah. And it was like a whole like nerd fight about
When really, other than the space station, they're nothing alike.
they're nothing alike.
So
That was the thing. Like, if you actually watched both, they're really completely different type of shows.
absolutely.
But yeah, no,
Babylon 5 is far more similar to Lord of the Rings than it's like Lord of the Rings in space. So
right.
you know.
Yeah, and Deep Space Nine was just, continuing on of that Next Generation universe. It did its own thing, obviously, especially as they got to the Dominion War and all that. It did a whole different type of thing, which I really loved. I enjoyed the hell out of Deep Space Nine. But let me ask you, because now you've done a bunch of campaigns now. So what, just for anybody out there, I know Fizz was in the chat. I don't know if he's still there, and I know he's going to be launching a campaign for his book. A lot of, there's a lot of crossover between fans and creators when it comes to Comicsgate and all that. So what would you like? What are the things that you've learned, like the big lessons that you've taken while doing all these campaigns that people should know that maybe they're not expecting or they're not thinking about?
Don't have 4 covers on your first book.
RC's laughing at the chat.
Yeah, I mean, don't try to get too wacky with your first campaign. I decided to have 4 covers because I like variant covers. It was more of a hassle than I wanted it to be. And so, I mean, especially, out the gate. Oh man, shipping is going to cost you more than you think it will. Let's see. And be reasonable with your funding goal, especially with your first campaign. I mean, I've seen people like on Heroine Adventure, I made the funding goal $500. Of course, it's going to take more than that, but I've done it enough to know that I will hit what I need.
Right.
But so, be careful with that. And then,
yeah. So would you say, so on that, would you recommend somebody doing their first campaign to make the funding goal what you actually need to print the book and fulfill?
I think you can go a little less, maybe like 25% less if you're trying to just hit the mark to, trend higher on Indiegogo or whatnot, because that's the reason a lot of people do it.
Right.
But I think you could do about 25% lower because you'll almost certainly hit that in demand. But yeah, man, especially with the first campaign, try to get it pretty close.
Now, let me, because now I'm just thinking things are coming into my head. What, like, as far as now, you have Ardana, and you have a couple you did a couple of campaigns for that, and are you planning on going back to that and continuing with that, or is that?
Absolutely, man.
So now,
yeah.
So let me ask then, like, as you're going, because this is something that I'm always thinking about for some reason. I don't know why. It's just a thing with me. Going ahead, like, as you continue to make more books, let's say in a series, going back and keeping people, like, obviously everybody always has like these catch up perks on those kind of campaigns where you can get the old book and get, and that makes sense, obviously. But is there a plan, or is there a way do you think, I don't know, I'm just putting you on the spot here,
Okay.
but is there a plan or a way to continue to, as you make the new books, without constantly just having like, well, here's the catch-up campaign where you can get the first 5 issues and you can get, like, is there a way to maybe continue to, as you get further and further, and obviously it would be a dream to keep going and going and going to the point where this becomes an issue, to get new readers in, to get that first issue where they're not having to drop a lot of money on a perk that gets them all caught up? Maybe there's like an alternate distribution method or something for the older issues as we get there. This is not really an issue anyone's facing yet, but right. I think down the road it's going to be. So I'm trying to come up with these things. I'm always trying to look ahead.
One thing you could do, it would be the first idea that comes to mind is more like a collected edition,
right?
Because for example, I've if you can get, say, the first 4 books, say, in one collected edition, and you've already funded those campaigns for those books, then you should be able to put this collected edition together for the catch-up people at a
Right.
reasonable price. And then, that might be a way to do it. Another way is something that we've kind of had the discussion on Twitter the past couple of days. It is something I've been working on for a while, would be more of a mass market release,
Right.
as far as bookstores, including Amazon, Barnes and Noble, books, worldwide distribution. I used to do a lot of work for various publishers, Penguin, Bantam, Ballantine. So excuse me. So I have a lot of contacts there in the
Okay.
traditional like publishing industry. So I am working on a plan to start getting more. You could call them reprints or mass market editions.
Sure.
They wouldn't necessarily be the same. I can't really say quality because they'll still be nice, but they're not.
Right.
It will be more of a mass market
Yeah.
version
No, I get
of the book.
I get what you're saying.
So not quite print on demand,
Right.
but more of a, like when you get the trade paperbacks from Marvel or DC or whatever, they're
Sure.
not necessarily the same paper and such as the floppies.
Right. Well, I think everybody
So
understands that the crowdfunded versions are, for lack of a better term, they're like the special editions of these books,
right, yeah, that's your high quality. Yeah, exactly. That's your premium,
Right.
version. So yeah, I'm working. I'm looking. I'm working on something like that. We're gonna see. I don't know what we'll start with first, but I've got a few creators. They're gonna be that are interested. That I've been talking to about that. So that's another plan. That's another idea moving forward because if you could, first of all, you need enough material to be able to do
Right.
that. I'm not going to just do it with a 24-page Ardonna Zero. That's kind of silly. But if you've got enough material to do that, Eternal Armor would be a great example. It's going to be 64 pages of story, and then there will be extra stuff in there in the back. So it might come out to say 72 pages total.
Sure.
That would be a great example of something you could do that with. Say a year or whatnot after the campaign, or once you've got a couple of volumes out. And because
Right.
again, like you said, man, you don't want to be on like volume 6 of Eternal Armor and be like, well, you can also get 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
5 in like we've got the 8th printing of #1 here. And it's like, yeah, man, it's gonna get wild when you get that high up.
Yeah, it's a weird and also, I mean, the other thing too though is I feel like with comics are a bit of a weird thing in that there are people who, if they come to something late and they think it looks cool, but they can't get a hold of the first, like, let's say for some reason the first 2 issues of something are out of print, and they're able to get like 3 through 6 and it looks really cool to them, they won't buy it because they can't get the first 2.
I'm that way. I'm that way.
There's a lot of people in comics that are like that. Like they can't, like, even if it was available digitally, let's say, so they could still at least read the story, they don't want it because they can't have the whole thing
Right.
physical.
Definitely me.
That's me, man. Yeah, I'm that way. So yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think like there's a lot of different questions and things to get into. Robert Romano's in the chat. But yeah, like there's definitely like a lot of questions about that going forward. I really like what and obviously not everyone can do this, but I really like what Clint is doing with Downcast, where he's got the books coming out, he's got Downcast 3 coming out, but he's also got the first 2 volumes broken up into floppies, and they're coming out through Alterna.
And that's a great idea as well.
You know, obviously not everyone can do that because Pete's not going to just publish everybody's book for them. You know?
Right.
But it's a cool idea.
But you could break them down yourself and put them on a campaign, and then, you know, you could break them down yourself and put them on a campaign,
Right.
and print enough of them, and and then you could still do second printing of those same floppies later or whatnot. I think there are a lot of ways to go about it. We're gonna have to really see what works when we get there.
Yeah.
Because but I think there will be a solution. We'll just have to figure out exactly what the
Like Robert says, maybe digital catch-ups. If you're buying issue 4, you get 1 to 3 free or discounted or whatever. Again, that would be fine as long as it's somebody who just wants to read the story and be able to read the whole story, and they're not worried about what way they're getting it. But there are people who are going to say that's not good enough. I need the physical. So I mean, that would
kind of guy myself.
That would work for some.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would work for some people, but for some people that wouldn't cut it for them. I almost feel like at some point, because there's so many books coming out now. I mean, there are just tons and tons. I feel like every day there's some new book that I didn't hear of that suddenly is there. I almost feel like at some point we're gonna need a literal store for all of Comicsgate, like an Amazon for just Comicsgate.
Yeah,
that would be beneficial.
Like the problem with that, of course, would be putting it together, obviously. But I almost feel like we're going to get to that point because there's so many books and people can't afford necessarily to back all of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to have a repository. You could go here and grab you a Cyber Frog and a Ardana and a Graveyard Shift.
Right. Well, and you ship them all together.
Shipping together. Yeah.
That would
Robert
be
Romano's got a good idea right here. The print-on-demand service for back issues.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. As long as people just want to get a hold of it, the print-on-demand. Obviously, the quality of print-on-demand is not always the greatest.
Yeah.
But if you just want it, because you just want it, people might be willing to do that.
Yeah, if you just want it because you want to read it. Especially if it were kind of a thick book. If it were a nice thick trade paperback size book, I could see myself doing that. Especially if it was something I hadn't read or wanted to catch up on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like if somebody was willing to put paper quality is not quite the same, whatever, I'd be down with that too. You get a big fat book, get yourself caught up on the story. And then what happens then is people get caught up on the story. And then when the new one comes out, they're like, well, I don't want to wait for the next collection. So I'm just going to go ahead and back this new one now.
Exactly.
Always trying to build on that, I don't know if black and white would work. I mean, black and white doesn't bother me, but I know some people would need color. And also,
it depends on the type of story.
Depends on the book.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it depends on the book and the type of story for me. Yeah. If it were originally published in color and then reprinted in black and white, I don't think I'd be down for that. But like Eternal Armor is black and white because it's supposed to look like manga. So
right. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, and I read a ton of manga, so I don't mind black and white at all.
Right.
Speaking of Eternal Armor, here it is right here. It's still in demand. Let me take a quick look at this. This is without even. Yeah, I was going to say, without even looking at who actually drew this, I know this is a Kanan White cover.
You know it. Yeah, absolutely. There is, man. It's awesome, too. So, yeah.
That guy's art is just ridiculous. But yeah, this is another project you've got. It's still in demand. And this is the one you were just mentioning. This is more of a manga style.
Yep.
Giant robots even. So it's really
Yeah,
you know,
I've always been a big fan of Mazinger Z, especially Mazinger Z. And a lot of the other super robot shows from like the 70s.
uh-huh.
So I wanted to do a giant robot book, and if I were gonna do that, then I felt like the style needed to fit.
Right.
So that's what we did here. Um,
I mean, and you definitely, I mean, the upskirts and everything, you went all in,
yeah, man, yeah. When I try to emulate a genre, man, I go all the way, bro. So, so yeah. So with this, I wanted the robot designs to have, at least in the beginning, because at least in the beginning, that's all I can say. I wanted the robot designs to have that almost 70s style super robot look.
uh-huh.
As we move into a war story that's a little more like something out of, say, Gundam or Robotech or Macross,
Okay.
whatnot. Things will evolve, but that's the starting point that I wanted. And then a lot of it has that nice 70s look to it, at least where we're kicking things off. And Eternal Armor is planned to be a few books. Each book is its own self-contained, I guess, arc, you could say. But there
Okay.
is an overarching, because it will evolve into this war story that begins with this book. So very cool. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been a blast to write. I love the art. Um, you know, so it's yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's doing well. We're $10 from 10,000. And we're still working on it every day. So got a lot of cool stuff that I haven't shown off, and some that I can't show off, and yeah, but it's been good, man. I love it. I love it.
So how much longer do you expect to leave the in-demand store open?
I am going to back to advice for people running their first campaign. Don't close your campaign too early. I closed my first Ardonna campaign so early that Peter Gilmore drew a gravestone for. He drew a tomb. He drew some art with a tombstone for the campaign. And it was far too early. I probably would have gotten a ton more backers if I had waited till people started getting the books in their hands. So this will learn my lesson. This time around. Yeah, I won't close it till after backers are already getting books and some word can get around, because I think once people I think a lot of people don't know exactly what to expect, really, even though it's giant robots and all that good stuff. I don't
Right.
think they know what to expect from the story, as far as what they're going to get. And but I think once they know and word begins to get around, I think a lot of people are going to want it, and that will save me from having to do another edition of Eternal Armor a couple of campaigns from now. Yeah, I learned that lesson. So yeah, it's probably going to be in demand a while.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I like that definitely is the case where I mean, I see that all the time where a campaign starts delivering and people start getting it, and people are posting their stuff online of, oh, hey, I just got this in the mail or whatever. And next thing you know, like other people are asking, like, well, where can I? And it happens to me. Like I do a lot of reviews on my channel where I'll review crowdfunded books that I get, and people will always ask. There's always somebody in the comments who will ask, like, how can I get this?
mhm.
And a lot of the time I have to tell them, well, it was a crowdfunded book. So you could try reaching out to the creator and see if they can work something out with you, or keep an eye out for a follow-up campaign, and maybe they'll have a catch-up tier or something like that.
Yeah.
So having it still be available in demand while people are reviewing it and getting it and being excited about it is only going to drive more people to want to go get it.
Absolutely. That's what I did with Ardonna the second time around. While I was fulfilling, it was still in demand. Yeah, and a lot of people, yeah, now though we're at the point where my leftovers I put as add-ons on the Eternal Armor campaign.
Uh-huh.
They sold out almost immediately. There are no copies of that book, either campaign left. I got a couple for myself, and
Right.
other than that, yeah, I'm gonna have to do a new number 0 with the next campaign once again. And this time I'm just probably gonna print a ton of them, and so that I will always have some on hand. It's gonna be a really cool cover. I already know what it's gonna be and who's doing it, and it's gonna have a really awesome cover. Yeah, man. So yeah, that's yeah. Don't close your campaign too early.
Yeah, I
So,
see.
but
I noticed like certain people, like I know, like for example, like Art T Bear, like his Chrono Mechanics campaign is still in demand, I believe. And that book, I got that book months and months ago. Got it, read it, reviewed
yeah,
it the whole night, and it's still out there. And he's got his new black and white in pre-launch.
mhm,
So like it's definitely, and he says he's still doing well on Chrono Mechanics. Like he's still getting like people backing here and there, like while it's sitting in demand. So,
yeah,
that whole in demand sort of like a storefront kind of, obviously most people do this like once the campaign's over and they leave it in demand, they'll take away a bunch of tiers,
yeah,
and just leave like the real basic stuff there so that people can just, you keep it easy on yourself too. Um,
yeah, yeah.
it also kind of makes it special for the people who backed it while it was live.
hmm
You know.
Yeah, I may start cleaning up some of the Eternal Armor perks, particularly the ones that come with the lunchbox,
Uh,
because those are on the way. So and I do know how many I've got, how many orders I have for it, how many are coming. But before it gets too out of hand, I do want to make sure, um, I probably close those perks down before before I have more orders for lunchbox than I do have lunchboxes. So you don't want to do that.
yeah, definitely not.
But uh, yeah, I went crazy on that campaign. I wanted to do a campaign with a lot of stuff, and so
Um,
I was like lunchbox, and we got some pogs, and we got yeah. It was fun though, man. I mean, I sold quite a bit of lunchboxes. So but that was just the campaign that I thought if I were going to do a lot of stuff on it, then the giant robot book is probably the one to do it with.
right.
So yeah, it was fun, man. It's been fun. So
Yeah, I just feel like that makes sense too, especially with a lot of like stuff that you definitely
mhm,
don't want to like overdo it with that. Like it's one thing to have like prints and cards and like that kind of stuff is all easy. It can all fit into one thing and just send off pretty easily. But when you're talking about like stuff like lunch boxes and t-shirts or things or things of that nature, like then you're talking a whole
yeah,
different ball game.
Definitely.
absolutely, man. Yeah, trading cards, prints, stuff like that. It's pretty easy to work with. Pretty manageable. So yeah, that'd be. I guess that's another piece of advice. Don't get too crazy with your perks on your first campaign. Especially if you haven't been. Especially if you haven't been around a while.
Right.
Like my first campaign, I think we ended it the day it went in demand. We had just barely passed the 3,500 goal, and then I think it ended at about 5,600. And so when I closed the campaign, but as I did more, that was when people started asking, how can I get this book? And then the second the second campaign just destroyed that first one. um so
That's listen though, that's great though, because that just means you're growing.
yeah, Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going
so
good,
no.
man. Rocket Gal did really well.
Mhm.
We're getting ready to gear up for the next Rocket Gal book. So as soon as Pete starts wrapping up some Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter, which I know you've seen the artwork from that,
Yep.
which is crazy. Yeah, we'll be working on Rocket Gal next, and then probably the first officially full volume of Ardonna. It'll be no less than 48 pages, and then
Okay.
it'll be the story issue 0 was the build up to. So it's kind of like the prelude
Mhm.
to the story that's coming. So
Now, what would you just out of sheer curiosity, like, most people tend to do like a lot of the Comicsgate books tend to be like or at least they start 48 pages,
mhm.
and then they'll vary from there. Some are bigger, some are, some stay 48, some grow, some get even bigger. Um, what do you think? Do you think that is the sweet spot? I feel like that's kind of where everyone has kind of landed on. Um,
I think so. Um, yeah, I think 48 is the sweet spot. The only reason I did my first book at 24 pages is because I didn't, it was kind of like dipping your toes in the water. I didn't
sure.
know what was going to happen. So why go out there with a 120 page book? you know, so and then Eternal Armor 64 because it's black and white, and
Right.
I wanted more content, for the buck, So, but
I also kind of
otherwise, I think 48. Yeah.
I also kind of feel like when it comes to manga, people just kind of like anything, even whether it's manga inspired or whatever, people always kind of expect uh bigger sizes
Yeah, that
when it,
too. Yeah.
you know, just generally just for the, just the way manga tends to operate,
Mhm.
because they're cranking out, a lot of them are cranking out weekly chapters. They
Yeah.
wind up going, like, when they put out the volumes, they're like, 120 something pages, these volumes that they put out because they've cranked out so much content in such a short amount of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 I would have liked to have done that, but yeah. But I
Yeah,
my
well, that's people with a giant publisher and the whole machine of, like Shonen
right.
Jump or Kodansha or whoever behind them. That's a whole different ball game.
Exactly. Yeah. If my artist could crank out a chapter a week, we'd have done that with Eternal Armor. But he's not quite that fast. So
Jim Cox is in the chat. How you doing, Jim? He says 48 pages needs to be 25 in my opinion, or yeah, no, I think like if you're less than 48, it's definitely got to be less than 25 if you're doing, if you're, I still think there's room out there for people to do a floppy, especially if they're just getting started. You just got to charge less for it. You can't charge $25 for a 25 or 32 page book even, I just
yeah,
feel like
both campaigns. Yeah, both Ardonna campaigns. It was just 15.
yeah,
So
no, I think that's, yeah, you
yeah,
got to go. You
plus
have to, you don't want to be charging people $1 a page. That's like,
right. Yeah,
that's a
no.
little,
It
like
was
that's a little,
15 plus you got all the extra stuff and all the stretch goals and so
right.
ended up pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, and I also think like, one thing I would say, like if you're doing your first campaign, you're probably going to want to go less than 25 anyway, even if you're doing a 48 page book, you're probably going to want to at least, go 20, like what, I mean,
Mm.
obviously it has to work for you to get the printing done and to be financially viable to get everything done. But if I can spend 25 and get, a book from somebody like Ethan or whatever, like, am I gonna, want to pay the same for somebody who's doing their first book and maybe it's not the same level? I like to support people at all different levels. So, I feel like you have to understand where you are in terms of, where you are in terms of everybody else's level.
Yeah, we made the first Rocket Gal book 20. and it worked out great. So you know, so
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
think
So I
it's
agree. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can, a lot of you can switch it up.
I look at like I mentioned it before, but like Clint Stoker with Downcast and his other books, like he kept the Downcast books, I think, at 20. He was definitely below 25 because, like he said himself, he's like, I'm a nobody. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not going to charge the 25. And now that he's grown, he could, but he's just keeping it there because it's like the sweet spot, you know. Which I appreciate that. I think that makes sense.
The sweet cast, sweet spot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's going with what works for him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, and he's got that whole back end thing of the floppies coming out through Alterna. Obviously you have to wait. They're coming out like, it's what is it, like a year or a year and a half, 2 years after the first Downcast book. The first floppies are just coming out now. So yeah, you got to wait. But if you're willing to wait, or if you just missed it the first time around, or you couldn't do it, there's your chance. You can pick it up for $2 for a floppy.
Yeah.
It's going to take you longer, but it's there, and it's another way to grow an audience.
Well, that's like how it used to be with waiting for a movie to come out on video.
Yeah.
It'd be in the theater, and then it might be 6 months, 9 months.
Oh, especially back in the day.
Store. Yeah.
Yeah, especially way back when it was like the movies took forever to come out on video. And then I remember you'd go to the video store and they would have like one copy, and you'd have to like sign up on a waiting list to get it.
Like, why do you only have 4 copies of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, like
or whatever year it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, they did that for sure. I remember what was it? I think it was Predator. We went to go to the video store to get Predator, and it was like we had to sign up on the waiting list and everything else because they were only getting like 2 copies of it. And it was like now, and it was, and again, that was when it took like 6 months to a year before a movie would come out on video. Now it's like it's out on video, and then, well, hell, now they're on streaming at the same time, some of them.
Yeah.
But that's, I've often thought of that too, like that model of, the crowdfunder is the theatrical release, and then, after that, maybe that's the video release, the DVD, the home video, whatever you want to call it. And then is there a streaming version? Not yet, but who knows what the future will bring,
Yeah, man, we've got a lot of possibilities, man. A lot of opportunities. So
yeah, absolutely. So real quick, just circling back around before we wrap things up, Heroine Adventure Magazine, definitely that pulp style, the shadow, that kind of stuff. Even a little bit of Flash Gordon I see in there.
Sure.
Definitely, if anybody remembers that. I remember loving as a kid that show. They had that cartoon Defenders of the Earth.
Oh yeah.
And it was like Flash Gordon and the Phantom, and who was the other guy? The other guy was like a magician. Mandrake, yes. Yes. That show had a cool theme song too.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, like I've always loved that kind of stuff. So like this is definitely something I'm interested in for sure. I think a lot of people are into this style of thing. And like you said, the pulp magazines are what eventually morphed into comic books. That stuff, like, where do you think things like Detective Comics and all that sort of stuff, that's where that stuff was inspired by.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Doc Savage had a Fortress of Solitude before Superman did.
These weird costumed characters, these superheroes, and they're really friggin' popular. So we're just going to keep doing that.
Yep.
But yeah, so Heroine Adventure Magazine #1 is available right now on Indiegogo. The link is in the description down below. Don't forget to check that out. If you're into giant robots beating up monsters, definitely check out Eternal Armor. Both from our friend Wyatt here. Any last things you want to say to any potential backers out there before we get going?
Other than, man, I appreciate all the support and all the backing, man. Like I said earlier in the show, I've been doing this for 2 years now, and it's been quite the ride. It's been awesome, man. So it's been like a roller coaster in places, but it's been overall, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything. You guys are the best. And I really don't, check out the magazine, man. If you're if you want to see the types of stories that comic books evolved from, or if you're already a fan of the pulp magazines, then I am giving you exactly what you want. If you're a fan of comics, then I'm giving you something you don't know yet that you want. And so just I invite you to check it out. And yeah, thanks everybody for backing and all the support, man. It's been great.
And you know what? And the other thing, I'll if people aren't sure, if they're if they're maybe just unfamiliar with the pulp magazine and that kind of stuff, I will say anybody out there who, it's fairly topical right now. We're not going to get into it, but He-Man figures back in the day used to come with those little mini comics, but they weren't actually comics. Most of them. They weren't like panels. Most of them were set up very much the same way. There was an illustration and it was prose underneath. So if you enjoyed those back in the day, it's a very similar style to what you're going to get here. You're going to get that one image that's going to help put the story in your mind, and the rest of it you're just going to fill in with your imagination as you're reading the story. So it's a very similar style to that. Those were just basically mini versions of that help you sell action figures.
It's made to be fast paced, no boring parts, and just a fast paced action, adventure story. With colorful characters and interesting locations. And so pure escapism. So which is greatly needed in a time like now. So just a good respite from everyday life. So I think you'll enjoy it.
So anybody out there, definitely check it out. Like I said, links are in the description. Thank you guys for being here. RC, Wyatt, thank you for being here. Chat, everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. Anybody who watches the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Don't forget to check out IndieComicsUnderground.com for tons of indie comics info all the time. Also, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel, our show, The Best Ever. We'll be going, we're going to be drinking age. We'll be doing episode 21 this week.
Yeah.
We don't know what the topic is yet. We usually figure that out right beforehand.
We were lucky this week to actually have it planned out the week before.
That was unusual. Don't expect that. We'll figure it out sometime this weekend what we're going to do on Tuesday. And then later this week, I believe it's Wednesday or Thursday. I'll let people know for sure. We're going to do another Shill and Chill. We're going to have Clint Stoker.
You're roboting there, Jam.
Oh, okay. More than meets the eye. So what I was saying, am I back? Okay. So yeah, robots in disguise. That's, by the way, when you were a kid, did you ever talk into a fan? You turn a fan on, you talk into it to make your voice weird. The thing I would always say when I would do that is robots in disguise. But what I was saying was obviously Best Ever Tuesdays at 7 p.m. every week, and then this week either Wednesday or Thursday, I forget now off the top of my head. I'll be sure to put it out there and let everybody know in advance. Another Shill and Chill, this time with Clint Stoker. We're going to be talking about Fatal. We're going to be talking about Downcast 3. We'll be talking to Clint all about that stuff. That'll be a lot of fun. That's also going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. So definitely, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do subscribe. And if you are subscribed, thank you for being here. And that is all for this afternoon delight edition of Shill and Chill. Again, thank you to everybody out there, and we will see you again soon. Peace. Mahalo. Bye. Aloha. All that good stuff.